All right. Here's everybody jumping in here on our Tuesday morning.
Good morning.
Awesome. Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
So good to see everybody. All right. Love our Tuesday mornings. And gonna give it a minute and let everybody jump in. So does anybody have any great stories to start off this Tuesday morning? So we are all about networking. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to say hello to everybody and kick off our Tuesday morning, maybe share a story. Anybody out flying, doing great things? Uh, Being that we have a speaker here talking about safety, you want to share any great things that they've been doing and safety tips that they have? Love to hear from you. So we're going to open up our chat, and somebody's already got one. Bill. All right.
Hey,
Yes, I
yeah,
do.
that's surprising. I don't, I'm not a, drone operator myself, but I happened to be at a high school on Monday and I gave a discussion. But that school has a connection to Embry-Riddle, and they are starting to do 107 um, uh, courses for their students at the collegiate level. So that's really exciting. I know that Women in Drones has a connection to Embry-Riddle, so I was very glad to see that, and they want me to bring Women in Drones to them a little bit, and there may be some further further work with some great high school students there.
Wow, that is excellent news. That's a great way to kick off our Tuesday, right? Fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. So yes, Embry Riddle does a lot of great things and is partnered with Women in Drones. So good to hear that. Ah, fantastic. Okay, so we're going to give it just a minute while we let a few more people in. But while we are doing that, this is an opportunity to share. I see a lot of familiar faces in here, so this is awesome to see everyone. But put your information into the chat. Carolyn, I see you, and you have some great news. You are lead of a team now. That's awesome. Want to share?
I, I'm back. I had to take a little bit of a medical relief, uh, wait, retirement, because I couldn't think of
Retirement,
a better
right.
way to do it. But MassDOT called back and said, "Can you please come back?" So I'm back. We're working out the details. I'm going to be faculty now, so that will be very exciting.
That is very good. And you know you are awesome when they're calling you and saying, please come back. Yeah, that's excellent. Good job. Nice. And it's exciting because I know, again, it's all about safety, right, Casie? Right. But, knowing your background with safety, yeah, is just amazing, Carolyn. So awesome. Nice. Good job. Okay, so take a minute and put your information. Bill put his information in there. Take a minute and log in and to our chat. And yeah, we got a congratulations in there. And connect, because that's what we're all about. Tell us how you're using drones, what you're doing in the industry. Maybe you don't fly, but you're using in the industry in a different capacity. Put your networking information in there. Hi, Kayla. I see you, by the way. Great to see you here today. And with that, I am going to segue over to our amazing guest speaker. So we have Casie Ocana here today. She is the VP of Public Affairs at AUVSI. She leads the Trusted Operator Program, which is shaping our industry standards for uncrewed systems, the training and certification. So it's so good to have you here, Casie. Thank you so much. I'm going to make you spotlight for everyone. I'm going to let a few more people in as well. And tell us a little bit about yourself just to get this going. I know you have a presentation, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Desi. I love to join this Coffee Connections. It's always logged in for me, so I always get my notifications. And if I have the time, this is usually what I'm listening into when I'm having my lunch on Tuesdays. So appreciate all the work that you guys do to set this up. I love it. Again, Casie Ocana. I am the Vice President of Public Affairs for AUVSI, a new position for me that I started in December, and transitioning some of the work that I had been doing on trusted programs is actually what I wanted to talk to the group here today. So very relevant. Our trusted programs are actually our certifications and small s industry standards, where we're working together with industry to say where are points of friction within the industry that could be helped with some industry-driven standardization or collaboration in different areas. And the one that we'll talk about today is trusted operator. I do also lead our trusted cyber work, which includes green UAS, and we just announced yesterday that we're moving forward on our ground certification work. So a lot around supply chain, resiliency, things like that for the industry. So I do work cross-domain, but my background is actually cross-domain, but most recently UAS as well. So prior to joining AUVSI, I was at a member company focused on the UAS space as well. Got my Part 107 license there. So I am a licensed drone pilot and do have my own drone that I fly for fun. And prior to that, I was at Ford Motor Company. So I am still based in the Detroit area. I work remotely, spend a lot of time in DC as well at AUVSI headquarters, but got kind of roots in the ground space as well. So loving working on all domain issues and tackling fun things for the industry across the AUVSI portfolio. So thank you again for having me. I love to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. So I can't wait to hear more about the program. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, you should have shared capabilities.
Let me know if you can see that okay.
Alrighty.
Share. Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So hopefully everyone here knows AUVSI, but for those that might not have been introduced to us yet, AUVSI is the Association for Uncrewed Vehicle Systems International, which is just a mouthful to say we work on all things unmanned, uncrewed, autonomy, and robotics. And we are the trade association to support kind of all of the regulatory policy, industry issues, and just a great support system for the industry. I was originally introduced to AUVSI, as I mentioned, as a member company. So we do have membership for corporations, but we also do membership for individuals. So probably a lot of people in this group are individual members as well. So really just a vital voice in the industry covering all of those things. Our main focus is to provide that unified voice, knowing that our industry is growing and in a lot of areas unregulated yet, or working towards regulation, really having a whole of industry perspective to help us move things together and from an aligned perspective, and help us move forward on those issues. We also provide education. Hopefully we will see many of you at Exponential in Houston this year, as well as on many of our webinars and other educational opportunities that we have throughout the year. And you can kind of see on here some of the other things we do, but hopefully everyone here is familiar with us. If you're not, I encourage you to reach out. We can get you involved in all different aspects of the work that we do at AUVSI. So today I'm going to talk about the AUVSI Trusted Operator Program, which has been around since I believe 2019, but is growing every day. So this is what I was brought on board AUVSI to focus on originally with our certifications and standards programs. And I'm going to talk to how the program was built, what we're working on now, some of the sneak peeks in the future, but very much encourage both questions as I go through and also feedback. That's part of the reason I join calls like this, is to hear, from people on the ground every day, what would be helpful to include in this, what didn't you know about the program that we can help you understand, and what challenges are you having that we might be able to incorporate into the program to help address. So if you think about UAS, which you guys do all day long for different aspects and purposes, if you were to put the same lens on it for crewed aviation and you got into a plane knowing that the pilot had only had to take a written test administered by the FAA and had never had to touch a plane or show proficiency or situational awareness and decision making based on different scenarios, probably be a little bit nervous. So similar in the UAS world, the FAA Part 107 really opened the world to commercial applications for drones from a monetary perspective and a regulatory perspective. But what was missing was the consistent standardization on best practices for training, certification, safety management, things like that. So that's where the AUVSI Trusted Operator Program comes in. To understand the Trusted Operator Program, fundamentally, we have certifications for both individuals, so individual pilots can get certified for levels 1, 2, and 3, and then also for organizations. So we will go in and do audits of organizations to view their safety management systems, how they treat best practices in terms of accident reporting, risk management, risk logging, maintenance logging, things like that. So when I speak to how we've structured the program today, really important to remember we offer it for kind of the entire ecosystem. Again, knowing that we were looking at some gaps that people were trying to fill with some type of standardized industry-led curriculum here. So I'll talk a lot today about the PCM, the Protocol Certification Manual. That's kind of our source of truth on how we want to develop these standards. So as I mentioned, this isn't something that AUVSI does in a vacuum. We don't just go and say, everyone should follow this. It's the best idea we've ever had. We bring together actual operators within the industry, training providers, educational institutes, as well as for-profit training providers, government observers in some cases, to be able to say what is the most important things that we need to include in the PCM and all align on it. These can actually ladder to different standards that are out there. So I made the joke in the beginning that we do standards with a small s. These are not prescriptive, standards that would be in ASTM, for example. These would point to things like ASTM, like NIST, like Part 107 as references and bring them together. So it's really an amalgamation of all of the different things that are across the industry and saying, how are we accounting for those from a knowledge perspective, from a proficiency perspective, and really making sure everyone is not only kind of writing down what these mean, but putting them into practice. So we'll go into some detail here, but wanted to give everyone the level set on how we administer the program. All of that to say, AUVSI doesn't do the training. I don't go out and train operators. We don't have anyone on staff who trains operators. We are providing the standard and checking organizations and individuals to the standard. So being able to say, are you meeting this requirement rather than saying, this is the requirement. Some of the things that you can expect to get out of the Trusted Operator certification, like I mentioned, we do require that they have their Part 107 as kind of the baseline and the start. In level 1, they will also build upon that with different details in knowledge-based learning. So they will get more familiar with some of those concepts rather than just having to prove it through one FAA Part 107 exam. They would do more kind of deep dive learning and understanding of the concepts that are in there. So it's a helpful tool for kind of that basic, okay, I want a little bit more, but still kind of entering into the system. When we go to level 2 and level 3, the flight proficiency comes in. So they are having to take a NIST, we follow the NIST guideline here. So they go and do the buckets course, as we lovingly call it. And they actually show that they are capable of maneuvering the drone in these ways. But maneuvering isn't really the only part of the practical flight assessment. They also need to understand risk management. So understanding and mitigating operational hazards. As everyone here that's flown a drone knows, when you're operating, things happen that you weren't planning for. Yes, it's very easy to be able to say, I know how to file my Lance plan. I know how to log it in my fleet management. I'm following steps A through Z that I was told in my protocols, my flight protocols, I was told I have to do by my organization or, as part of my waiver, whatever it might be. But the part where Trusted Operator goes into detail as well is how do you react into those unknown situations? So making sure that you're thinking about different contingencies that could be happening. How do you make decisions? There's a lot of frameworks in there from, FAA framework of decision-making to just kind of what we've put together as Trusted Operator standard to say, how do we help you make the best decisions possible and really activate on that. So let's do some scenario planning, some conversations around that and go a little bit deeper. And then, as I mentioned, everyone's going to get the regulatory understanding because you do have to have the Part 107 to even enter into the course, and you show your recurrency with that as well. Practical flight assessment, like I mentioned, the exciting thing here that a couple of our training providers have started to launch is actually doing this remotely. So they can pack up the course, ship it to you, have you record it, and assess you that way. So that's really expanded our flight assessments beyond where our training providers are located geographically. So it's a pretty fun course if you have the chance to do it. If you are at Exponential, we're still exploring in Houston this year, we're still exploring the option to have this course on site. So you can either practice to get ready for your PFA, practical flight assessment, or actually complete it there to get your level 2 or level 3 certification that's required for it. As I mentioned, the Trusted Operator Protocol Certification Manual is what we use as all of the guidelines. This is available to download on AUVSI's website. It's completely free. It's not meant to be, gated and kept hidden in a shelf. It is meant for the industry to use to up-level what they're doing and give them an idea of where the baseline should be. And you'll notice here we have edition 1.0, edition 2.0. So this is meant to be a living, breathing document. And the most exciting updates will probably come to this as well with BVLOS coming here soon. So as soon as we see that NPRM come through, the exciting part is with the structure of Trusted Operator, about 80 to 90% of it, depending on the level, is around best practices, safety management, operational expertise, which doesn't have to do with the regulatory space. So once that all gets figured out, we're ready to cascade all of that information from industry who's operating BVLOS under waivers today and saying, okay, here's the best practices that they want you to know. And the goal of this is really from a workforce development perspective. For those operators that are doing high volume BVLOS, what do they want you to know before you come in the door? There's always going to be 5 to 10% that they want to customize and say, this is how we do it in our operations. This is what we want you to know for customized protocols that we have here. But getting that main base of fundamentals down is really the goal of Trusted Operator, to speed up the learning curve when people are coming in the door, but also to make hiring managers aware of the criteria. We have them involved in the developing process to be able to say, this is what I need people to come with on day one, and help them with those hiring decisions as well. I mentioned training providers a lot, so I want to take a minute and just dive in a little bit more to what our training providers do and who they are. So as I mentioned, AUVSI doesn't do any of the training ourselves. I'm not out there, coaching on a NIST course or administering any of this. We wanted the training providers to be able to provide the training themselves, because that's what they do in their everyday, and that's what has been so helpful to the industry, is that they're very dispersed throughout the country. They have remote options. We've expanded into the African Drone and Data Academy in Malawi. So we're able to kind of have this broader reach while providing that consistency and kind of common language to the industry to say, if someone has gone through this program, what have they come out with it? But it gives them that educational freedom, which I'll go into in a little bit. One thing that you'll notice on here is I think every single one of these is a FAA Collegiate Training Institute. So we are trying to work within the system for what exists today, what are the partners that are doing great work, how do we work with all of them, and how do we support the industry with some of these friction points of not having, a common standard around safety management, best practices, things like that on top of the Part 107. So this is how we focus on growing that. We actually have a couple more in the pipeline who will be coming online as training providers this year. And we introduced a really cool concept within the past 6 to 9 months of a mentor protege model. So NCAT in particular has been taking off with this, as well as NC State University, where they go to other educational institutes and they coach them up on how to get up to speed on becoming a training provider. And they mentor them to kind of host their certificates. So they teach them everything they need to know to be able to issue certificates to become a remote pilot instructor. And then at a time when they're ready to kind of do it on their own, they get big enough, they want to create their own curriculum, they want to do customizations, they're able to kind of graduate to a full training provider. So we've really seen within the last year the reach of the program take off, and with BVLOS coming up, we expect it to be even further. So we're very excited about how it's been received by the community, and that we're continuing to add training providers. I think one of the best quotes that I got from one of our training providers at Embry-Riddle was that going through this process initially really helped them build out, the protocols that they had. So going through and saying like, these are all things that we do, but are they written down? Are we actively following them up? Is someone checking on them to make sure that the recurrency is there? All of those things. So it's really just a helpful kind of quick button to operationalizing some of the protocols or formalizing some of the protocols that are already in operating. Again, a key tenet of Trusted Operator Program is balancing the consistency with the educational flexibility. So there are all different ways and styles to teach, as everyone knows, and people choose their training provider based on where and how they want to learn. And so we're not telling anyone, you have to do drone jeopardy in this section to figure out, do people know this? Are we testing this? This is how you have to do it. What we do is say you need to show me that they will come out of this piece of content with this knowledge, this proficiency, and this standard. And so it's been really well received to keep that educational flexibility. There are also different ways that people administer it in terms of sequencing. Some people will do all 3 levels throughout the course of a semester. So it's very easy to kind of flow through the topics and build upon them. They will also build them into other curriculum that they have so that they're really maximizing, what the students are coming out with. So maybe it's during a 2-year program, so they're coming out with an associate's as well as an industry recognized certificate, like the Trusted Operator Certificate. So we're trying to maximize, the ways in which the educational institutes want to engage with the program. And what we've focused on and what we've heard from the industry in terms of why we needed the industry-led standardization is really having those common industry benchmarks. So I've kind of belabored this a lot throughout the conversation of just being able to have that common language, that common framework where there isn't necessarily one for our industry yet of what do they need to have, what are the requirements, and being able to just kind of pick that up and understand what that means. Also on the operational risk side, having that consistent safety training is very helpful as people move around from organization to organization or just from, one training program to the other, being able to say, we are collaborating with all of the training providers, with the service providers who are giving us industry input. And so we're constantly applying the latest in the safety training. So that kind of benefits all from everyone collaborating on this rather than, just going with what worked for your organization. We're able to get some of that knowledge sharing across the group. The regulatory compliance has also been really helpful to be able to point to where good work is being done. With the Part 107, with NIST, we're able to outline how we align to those and really bring it all together to create a full picture of a training and compliance certification rather than just saying, okay, I've done NIST over here, I've done my Part 107 over here. We wrap it all together and create that cohesive course, but also that cohesive story of what you're coming out with. And then ultimately, the confidence in hiring. Employers know what you're coming out with, what you can do. AUVSI works with the employers to educate them on the certification and help them understand what's included in it, what they can expect, and also in the development, like I mentioned in the case of BVLOS. Because we had such a strong support in the market for the Trusted Operator UAS program, we were actually approached by many, many members to develop into an uncrewed maritime system program. So we're actually using the baseline PCM from the UAS space to help launch one for maritime systems. It's a very similar story that we've all heard in the UAS space where there was some rumblings about the certification or requirements being placed on mariners of uncrewed systems the same as, full ship mariners. And so the same as in the UAS space, where if you were to require a full pilot license just to operate a UAS, it wouldn't really make sense in terms of undue burden on that operator and also applicability, right? So we're going through that process right now of saying what are the baseline maritime competencies that they need to have, and also what are the ones that are custom to uncrewed maritime systems. So we're excited again to be working a little bit more cross-domain in this space. It's been growing a lot, and you can also see that some of our training providers are on this founding committee as well. So Embry-Riddle and NCAT both giving feedback on how we can apply those UAS learnings into the maritime space and really customize it for the maritime space. So that's all I had from a presentation perspective today, but as I mentioned, here to answer questions, take feedback, have discussions, and just wanted to leave with, you can find your training provider on our website. This QR code goes right there, or you can download the PCM directly. Encourage everyone to do that. Give us thoughts, feedback, comments, and all of the above.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. And so, yes, I also put the link into our chat to find a training provider as well. We do have some comments and questions in the chat going on. And so one of the questions that first came up, it was, can you get parts of the flight proficiency training via simulation?
So
Great
we
question.
have, yeah, great question. We have a few training providers that do use simulation tools. So Embry-Riddle actually has one that I believe is still free to download from their website. We usually have it in our trusted operator booth at Exponential, so you can come and play with the simulator there. I don't believe they're certifying based on that, but I can double check with them. That's more for practice and engagement, but I believe for certification, we still require the actual physical assessment.
Awesome. Awesome. And, you know, being a level 3 top professional myself, I know the value of that safety. And I've seen so many times where that NIST, the bucket system is just phenomenal. You know, people can say that they can go out and fly, but when you dial it in and it's accountable under a certain time frame, it really does elevate that proficiency. So I am a big fan of that NIST system.
Hey,
So,
Casie,
yes,
Casie, it's Bill Johnson.
hi, Bill.
I asked that question about the simulation, and I was wondering, you had mentioned risk mitigation as a critical component and that's part of the proficiency. So I was wondering, how do you test for the pilot's ability to react to unusual circumstances or emergency situations in a manned pilot ability? We use the simulators for that. We have emergency procedure simulators, et cetera, that you have to be proficient in. So that's where I was thinking of when I was thinking of simulation.
Yeah, great question. And this goes back to that educational freedom. So the way that we do the program and administer it is we require that they show us how they're doing it individually. So every training provider does it a little bit differently. Embry-Riddle's practical flight assessment protocols, I think, are like 6 pages long of like, you must, do this maneuver. We introduce this, and then they must do this. And then they have a score ranking based on that. So it's all very technical in how each one does it, but it's all a little bit different, all saying comes to the same outcome that's included in the PCM. So I've not heard of them doing it through the simulation in that way, but that's a great suggestion, and definitely something that we're seeing more and more on the maritime side as well, knowing, you only have access to certain bodies of water, certain sizes of equipment on that side.
Awesome. Awesome. Good way to segue forward, isn't it? We also had a couple other comments and questions into our chat. One is from Ocana. Is there an opportunity with AUVSI to develop various standards? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actively working on, again, standards with a small s. So it's just more of industry alignment around, requirements, frameworks. We like to use the words frameworks and benchmarks a lot because it's not meant to be stifling in any way of saying this is something that you're required to do. We are working towards areas where having an agreed upon standard would help with communication, like for hiring managers, things like that. So we're actively working on a lot of those. We're also involved in a lot of conversations around standardization in the formal realm. So ASTM, we have teams that go there, other frameworks like that, working with the NIST teams on things like that. So we're definitely heavily involved and encourage you, if there's any standards work or coalitions that that you're aware of and want to invite AUVSI to, we're always collaborating with members on things like that.
So Carolyn has a question in our chat too, but Carolyn, before we get to it, I wanted to ask one more question because it's based on what you had just commented about employers. So what is AUVSI doing from that client looking for a pilot? Is there any kind of a outreach for that, showcasing, hey, these top professionals really have elevated their standards?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of direct engagement with employers, and we also do different industry events, things like that, where we're constantly promoting this. At past exponentials, we've done different engagements on that side. What we're working towards in the future is having them more involved in the development of the protocol. So that's what we see for BV loss, just knowing that the majority of it is going to be on the enterprise to say, what are your best practices? How do you want this to come out? And knowing that there's so much difference in that world, to be able to say, here are some things that we all agree on to get us to 80%, and then we can really develop that workforce for you. So that's kind of our proposition to the employers, is help us help you develop the workforce so that you can hire faster, especially as things start to move here in the BV loss realm. Today, a lot of the employer work is done at the educational level with the training provider. So that's again why we have that model. They are the closest to the students. They're the closest to the employers through career fairs, through things that they do. And then we try to bridge the gap on the industry side with some of the bigger employers to say, here's what it is. We've also done work in the past with insurance providers to help them understand, for the service provider side, how do we provide those benefits of getting those rates down. So we're engaging in those ways, but also again, a reason of coming and joining y'all today is to better understand, ways that we can better support the community and those getting the certificate in the market.
Wow, reaching out to insurance, that's fantastic. That's a great way to go, because that just dominates our whole industry, or the world actually. So that's a really good point in here, that she's also looking for feedback. So please put your feedback into the chat. Let's hear your thoughts as well. Carolyn, you said you have a question regarding the top certification. Do you want to open up your mic and ask what it is, or did you type it and I missed it?
No, I left it at that, not to fill up a page. Hi, Casie.
Okay.
Carolyn White, nice to meet you. I just want to give 2, maybe 3 point outs. I've taken the TOP class with Embry Riddle. Awesome. The first time I took it, it was me and the instructor, because if you take it at an off time, you will get everything you need on a gold platter. It was a great way to spend a blizzard in Boston. I'm like, I could take this class. This is great. The second time, it was the other instructor and one other student. So equally good, also during a blizzard in Boston. Very, very good. So my question was, for these, and I know they were updating the certificate program. I finished the other certificate late 2023, and we can talk offline, but I never got like the link to here's where you get your certificate, because before they mailed it out or they gave us a PDF. So I think it's in the system, but I just don't know how to get it, but we can chat. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to the Clemson program, because we have used that with our pilots here at MassDOT. The NIST program online with their computer simulation, you pick your drone that you want to fly through the NIST program. Lights out. So cool.
Awesome. No, I love to hear that. I'm going to drop my email in the chat and we'll get you a copy of the certificate. But I can tell you that from the database perspective, all of that goes into our system online. They upload it right there. So for hiring managers that get access to the database and things like that, you're all up to date in there. But yes, reach out to me and we'll get you that certificate.
Very good. Thank you so kindly. And we do use for standards for our.
Oh, you muted while you were talking.
Sorry. we do use the TOP for our standards for our pilots. So thank you.
Awesome. Love to hear that.
Yes, and that's excellent. That's an excellent use case when you are training at that level. You have the competence of what they've learned, and the practical flight assessment, that element of it is huge. So Audrey wrote in here that she would love to do the NIST training here in San Diego. She's confused about how to do it, or does she need to make her own course? I'm going to actually jump in a little bit right here, because I know there's a couple colleges that are trying to get on board with having that program going. San Diego, here in San Diego. But you can elaborate a little bit more there, Casie.
Yeah, no, I'd encourage wherever you can find to take it it's great. You know, no prioritization of any one or the other. But for Southern California, Fullerton College, I know it's a slight hike, but is out that way, is onboarding with us as a full training provider. And then we also some of our current training providers offer the remote course. So they will kind of ship you the tools that you need to do it. You can also download the NIST guidelines from the NIST website, and you can kind of build it based on your own curriculum, assuming that, you know, you're not looking for a certification, you just want to test out the course and do things like that. You can actually download that to be able to say, I'm going to build this myself and just kind of figure it out, even just for kind of prepping for an exam or just testing your own proficiency. So encourage you to check that out on the NIST website. And also in the PCM, you can kind of build it out from there too, if you download the AUVSI PCM.
Awesome, great resources there. Bill has asked about, or said that it's surprising that the Maritime Systems Cert is not in the Merchant Marine Academy or the U.S. Naval Academy. There's somewhere to look forward to maybe in the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have collaborations with a lot of different organizations ongoing, and it's a little bit different in the maritime space where they don't have a baseline of something like a Part 107 to build off of. So we're collaborating with NOAA, with Navy, with a lot of their training providers to kind of build out what that standard is and work with the industry to get it administered through all of their typical channels. So things like Merchant Maritime or Merchant Marine Academy to be able to administer it, similar to how Embry-Riddle does it. So I'd kind of think of it in the same way, but that's a great call out. We also would love any feedback on the development of that too from operators. We have operators, manufacturers, government observers on the committee, but encourage all types of participation.
Wonderful. All right. A couple more comments into our chat here. Johnny had said in his practice, he tests the team. By turning off the individual feature system to test the vehicle reaction and the pilot response. A lot of anxiety. Also another comment in here. So was just looking at the Dart Drones provider, says you take 14 micro online courses for the top 1 certification for $650. The second level is $1,200, and is that in line with other providers are offering?
Yeah, so each individual provider can set their own pricing, and they kind of work with their community to right size it. So I know pricing has changed quite a bit over the last few years, especially as things become more accessible, as curriculum becomes more in demand, things like that. So each individual provider will have their own pricing, but I know a lot of them have been working on making it more competitive and affordable for their audiences. So no specific comment on the pricing, but I know you can get the individual pricing from each. I think Clemson might actually have it on their website too. So you can kind of look and compare there.
All right. Then another one in here, Sheila put in some pricing, average costing as well. And Audrey made a comment about the Fullerton College, and I know Fullerton has an amazing program, and so that may be something to look into, and a couple more prices going on in here. If anybody has any other questions, you can go ahead and put those into our chat. It looks like I need to let someone in here right quick, but does anybody have any questions as far as the actual testing and procedures or anything like that? Because that's one of the things that is so key, is making this program accountable and having that practical flight, because we don't have that and other countries do, and having that ability to actually test those flight parameters for someone has been fantastic. Another thought on a different, while we're waiting for comments to come in, is as a pilot, this is something that we ourselves can promote, that AUVSI, being a top operator, is elevated our standards. And so we asked earlier about, from the employer side, but as a pilot, what are some of the things that we can do as a pilot to promote ourselves having gone through this system?
Yeah, I think it is included on the directory. So as you mentioned that you have it, whether it's in a resume or in a conversation, pointing people to the website, when you see the depth and breadth of members that AUVSI has and kind of the standing that we have within the industry, I think that helps tell the story for non-traditional hiring managers. So when they're not fully in the industry and they don't know what these certificates mean, it can help tell that story of why it's needed and why it's better than not having one, or help them understand what it means for that hiring manager. So things like we run into this a lot with operators that work for a larger company and are just kind of a small part of the operations, right? And it's moved around departments, or it falls under someone's purview that doesn't actually have to operate the drones. It's just more of an operations manager type thing. So I think just using the kind of power of AUVSI's network to be able to say, this is why this is going to help me be better in my job kind of day one.
Awesome. Awesome. So we talked a little bit about as far as the employer side and insurance and such like that. Are there any advantages insurance wise from the pilot side of things that you might be aware of?
Not that we have today, but we are happy to, submit documentations for individual pilots to start having those conversations. Like we want people to be able to get the most out of their certification. So if there's ever any way we can support that, or, you run into a coalition of people working on those type of topics, we're always happy to help engage and kind of grassroots it with you too.
Awesome. Awesome. So I just saw Adrian raised his hand. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Adrian. So open up and share.
Yeah, as one of the trusted operator certificated program, what I've found as an operator is this is a great way to differentiate yourself from your competition. When this was initially created, the Remote Pilots Council got together, got a large group of pilots. And, this is something that was created by pilots for the and really set the standards. Once this program,
Oh, it's kind of choppy, Adrian.
I mean, the FAA, even behind closed doors, gave us the blessing to okay, definitely vouch for the program. If you're
Nope. Okay. Well, he was saying nothing but positive things about the program. And so it got a little choppy. Sorry about the connection there, but it was always good to hear from Adrian. And so there's several people here on the conversation that have used the trusted operator program or have gone through the NIST and offer that. So I encourage everybody to reach out. I know Tani has just put into our chat that she had logged in late, but she would be happy to share with them as well. And so feel free to reach out to others in the industry. So as we wrap this up and we come up to the top of the hour, can you share with us any last thoughts or inspiration of moving forward? Maybe what are you seeing in the future for the program, and just some words of inspiration for us?
Yeah, I think moving forward, the things that we think most about in the program are the evolution of remote pilots and how we incorporate some of these concepts and training programs into future evolution like BV law. So yes, we may have in a few years be in a situation where you're kind of more of a systems of systems manager as a remote pilot trying to do this BVLOS work, but not losing the fundamental education of flying a drone one-on-one, of understanding the dynamics of interacting with these vehicles and understanding that there's always going to be a place for the different types of operations when you're still doing, remotely piloted flight that needs precision handling on it and showing that proficiency all the way to, being able to understand how all of these systems work together and the proficiency that you'll need for that. So I think that's the most exciting part about working on this program is the amount of evolution that it's going to require and how kind of the basics are always still going to be relevant, kind of no matter what type of scenario you're in.
Awesome. So Bill said perhaps that will be another level of certification. Yeah, so things are on the horizon. Yes, we see a lot of change in the industry, and so it's exciting, and definitely the safety and the training is the core to everything. And so offering that to an employer or such, as knowing that that certification has been met and that core training has been met, it is very vital. And so with that, I want to wrap it up. I want to thank you very much. And did we get your information into the chat? And if not, can we put that in
Yes.
there?
Yes, I did drop my AUVSI email in there. Also linked, I'm always on LinkedIn. Any way to connect, always happy to chat on ideas or connections at different events. So thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, so I already said we're going to wrap it up, but I do have one more thing that we should probably mention. AUVSI is coming up in Houston. Obviously, you're going to be there.
Yes.
So great opportunity to meet, network, and learn more about the program.
Yes, absolutely. We have our own trusted operator booth that our training providers actually staff for us so that they can talk to folks directly, promote their programs. And then we are actually going to be doing level 1 certifications at AUVSI, or at Exponential, sorry. So we will share more with that for this group, for those interested in kind of testing it out. I'm super excited to have that on site this year. And then we'll keep everyone in the loop on, other engagements that we'll have there. But can't wait to go to Houston. Adrian's already giving off the cowboy hat vibes that we're looking forward to so much in May.
Yes, excited. Can't wait to be there. So good that we got to put that in there. Look forward to seeing everybody in Houston. Thank you, Casie, for joining us and sharing us with all the insights for the operator program. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
We'll
guys.
see you
Thank
next
you.
week. All right. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Cassie. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Desi.
Aha.
That was
Bye.
great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Awesome.
Houston, huh?
Yes, Houston coming
That's
up.
that's where my daughter lives. That's where my daughter lives. I might be down there.
There you go.
Yep.
You have a perfect reason to go.
Yeah,
Two
exactly.
good reasons, right?
Yep.
All
All right. Thanks
Okay,
again.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Tani. Tani, we need to meet up.
I know. I was going to say, Desi, it's been forever.
Yes.
Misconnecting. We'll have to do that soon.
Okay, let's do it.
Absolutely. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Hi,
Hi,
Tony.
Sharon. Hey,
Bye.
Carolyn.
Are you coming out
Bye-bye.
to Skip's Festival, Tony?
What's that?
Are you coming out to Skip's Festival?
I was looking at that yesterday. I would love to. I'm hoping to get information on entering some of my students for the film festival, but I'm still waiting to see how we can make that work. Are you going to be out there for the whole?
Yeah.
It's the whole weekend, right?
Yeah, it's one
Okay.
weekend. Yeah.
We'll make something work.
Okay, hope to see you there. Bye.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right,
So
bye.
great to see you guys. Thank
Good to
you.
see you, Carolyn. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sheila, I love your screensaver. So
Oh,
great.
thank you. Yes, I scammed that from someone's house. Yep. Not my house. I'll tell you that right now. That's Yep.
So, you guys have a good week. Be well, stay safe.
All
You
right,
too.
congratulations. All right,
And stop
bye.
the recording.
Oh, yeah.